Hey, what's up, y'all? Today we're gonna be reacting to 3 Airbnb horror stories animated by Mort. Alright, now, one of the jobs I used to work at, I'm always talking about jobs I used to work at, but it was a sales job, and we used to like go out to like Miami, California, places like that, and we used to always stay in Airbnbs. Now, me, you know I'm gonna find a way to gas that bitch out. But I ain't never just had like no scary stories happening Airbnb, man, like cuz I don't heard about them having like cameras and weird stuff like that, in the showers. But yeah, I personally haven't experienced that. Not I pray that I never do. Anyway, I'm doing too much yapping. Let's get into the video. Roll my theme music.
I'm not the kind of person who chases chaos. I like schedules, clean bathrooms, defined plans. But my husband Barry's a little looser with things. He'd pack a bag the morning of a flight, if I let him. But he's always been respectful of my needs for order. That's what made this whole trip feel like such a slap. We weren't flying cross-country or off-grid camping. Literally just a 3-hour drive out of the city, a little town built around a couple of lakes and creeks. The kind of place you forget existed until you scroll past some kind of aerial drone shot on social media and think to yourself, yeah, I could use a long weekend. So we did it the right way. Barry picked the destination. I booked the place. One of those Airbnbs that looked a little too perfect. Bright white interior, Edison bulb lighting, and a fire pit in the backyard.
Sound like my
It
type
was
of
walking
Airbnb?
distance to the river. Sounds good. I cross-checked the references, verified the host profile, and made sure the lockbox code had come through properly. The booking confirmation said it had been recently cleaned and was fully reset for our arrival. That was the last phrase they used, reset, like we were loading into some digital hotel room.
Alright, so I already gotta get on my detective shit, you feel me? So reset, like she said. They done made it into one of them places where you gotta put the you gotta put the tarp down on the floor, and then do the business, and boom, we just reset the room, and it's all good. But yeah, no, like when I was going to Airbnbs, I rarely like when we was doing like the big ones. I didn't really have no interaction with like booking them or nothing like that. I just showed up. And the time I did book an Airbnb, like, it was cool. So, yeah.
And didn't remember the last guest. The drive-in was easy, mostly 2-lane roads and flat farmland broken up by little clusters of trees. There were actual cows out there. We stopped at this diner around 15 minutes from the house and had soup and grilled cheese, like we were retirees, just to buy ourselves time until the official check-in window had arrived.
Hey,
grown-up perks, zero grown-up stress.
That's why y'all gotta like the video.
It pays to be a member. You see,
I'm gonna get premium.
When you say let's go to breakfast,
You making me watch them?
you
making me watch
go
them,
to McDonald's.
Alright, skip.
When we finally pulled up into the neighborhood, it was a lot quieter than I expected it.
Oh, but I was just gonna say, soup and grilled cheese, that shit fire. That shit fire as hell. Y'all ever had soup and grilled cheese? Man, we used to have that for I don't know if it was breakfast or lunch in like elementary school, middle school, whatever. But soup and grilled cheese, that's a slap.
To be. No kids on bikes, nobody out mowing their lawn or washing their car. And the house itself sat at the far end of the cul-de-sac, boxed in by tall hedges and a rickety wooden fence in the backyard. The first thing that I noticed was the car. Not the one we drove in with, but the other one parked at the curb. Sleek, silver, clearly newer than anything else on that street. The hood was dusted over though, and pine needles were stuck to the windshield like nobody had even bothered to move it in days. I remember saying, "Do you think somebody's still here?" Barry just shrugged and got out to stretch. I didn't like that. I don't shrug things off like that either. I'd triple check a locked door before bed if I heard a single creak from the HVAC. I pulled up the app and clicked through the reservation. Everything looked right. Dates, address, check-in instructions. I even had a backup email from the host with a note about the key being inside the lockbox. Still, I called customer service just to be sure, and after a brief hold, the woman on the line told me everything had been confirmed. The host had supposedly cleared the place out earlier in the week, and sometimes people just leave their cars behind if they get picked up. Barry was already halfway to the porch by the time I hung up my...
Wait. People leave their cars behind if they get picked up. If I'm checking out and I'm not supposed to be there, why would I leave my car behind? Why would I get picked up from the Airbnb to leave and check out? Why would I leave my car? That makes no sense. Because I was going to say, what if the owner is just there, you know, working on something or whatever, but the explanation they gave, that didn't make no sense at all. It kind of just pissed me off. Because if you told me that, I'd be like, nah, rebook my shit.
The lockbox clicked open without any kind of fight. Inside was a single brass key, old school, a little tarnished around the ridges. Barry held it up like he just won a prize and then slipped it into the knob. The front door creaked inward, revealing a tastefully decorated living room, neutral tones, abstract wall art, and one of those fake fireplaces with glowing logs. It looked like it was designed to look clean, without any kind of personality. And at first glance, it did look exactly like the pictures I saw before. Still, I stepped in slowly. The air wasn't stale exactly, but it wasn't fresh either. Like somebody had opened up all the windows earlier in that day and then shut them again just before we arrived. Barry walked in, called out a friendly hello, like we were visiting old friends or something. Of course, there was no answer, just the gentle hum of a ceiling fan and the faint click of a wall clock. We brought in our bags and cooler, moving room from room. Kitchen, dining area, guest room, and bathroom. It all looked fine. I kept waiting for something to jump out though. Clothes on the floor, dishes in the sink, a door that wouldn't open. But it was quiet.
Just looking for
but there was
something to be
just
wrong.
something about it, something gnawing at me. The staging felt far too perfect, like it had been reconstructed, not just cleaned. But I tried to shake the thought. Barry lugged the cooler into the kitchen while I wandered down the hallway. He called for me a minute later, voice sharp. Babe, you gotta see this. I came back and found him standing with the fridge door wide open. Inside, it wasn't empty, not even close. It was packed full. Milk, deli meat, a full vegetable crisper.
Hold up. Because I done been in Airbnbs where they will leave you like a little trinket pack. They'll leave you like a little, a little food pack or whatever. They'll leave you like some refreshments in the fridge, a little something to cook with. I have been in Airbnbs where they do that. So this wouldn't strike me as odd. Because I have seen them do, but should we have trusted that? I don't even think we used like the ingredients they left. I think we still went to the store and got our own stuff. But like they do this. They do this. Yeah.
Beer, a wrapped cheesecake on the top shelf, and everything was fresh. I leaned in and checked the labels. Nothing was expired. Somebody had stocked this fridge within the last few days. This isn't ours, is it? Barry said, though of course I knew it wasn't. Did you order groceries? No, I said. And this isn't leftover from the guests. There's no way this stuff would still be good. I pulled out my phone and wrote to the backup Airbnb contact that I'd been given, the real-time guest liaison or whatever they called themselves. I told them about the fridge. 15 minutes later, I got a reply and said, "Oh no, thanks for letting us know. It was an honest mistake. Owner must have left it by accident. Home is definitely vacant though. You're all clear to settle in. Enjoy your stay." No apology, just that vague, breezy dismissal. Barry then cracked open a soda from the fridge because of course he would, and then went to get the bags from the car. I stayed behind and wandered to the bathroom. It was clean.
I ain't gonna lie. Seemed like Barry just a chill dude. Like, Barry ain't messed up about none of that shit. Barry said, "You know what? Free drinks. Hey, I'm with Barry on that one. You don't let some free food, free drinks. It ain't been opened. Still sealed. Cheesecake, my nigga. Oh yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. For real.
Like everything else. Queen bed made tight, suitcase stand folded in the corner, lamp on the nightstand. The adjoining bathroom was lit by one high frosted window and smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. That's when I noticed the medicine bottles on the back of the toilet. 6 orange prescription containers lined up in a row. I stepped in and picked one up. Hydrocodone, 10 milligrams. But the name was smudged. The date was only a week old though. The others were similar: painkillers, anti-nausea, sleeping aids. Next to them sat a manila envelope thick with paperwork. I slid the top open and saw forms from a regional cancer center. Billing information, treatment plans, chemo schedules, home care notes, radiation prep. I flipped through, my gut turning tighter and tighter. These weren't old papers, they were active, ongoing. "Barry," I called out. And that's when I heard him scream. It was short and panicked, not drawn out. A gut-level sound that ripped me away from the sink and then down the hall. I followed the sound to the master bedroom where Barry stood frozen just inside the doorway. I pushed past him and stopped cold. There was a body on the carpet.
Male. Whoa, wait. Hold on. Okay. So now we got a classic whodunit, right? Damn. You know what? Let's press play.
Face down. The skin was gray-green and sloughing in places. The stench hit me like a wet rag. Not quite rot, but the early oily phase of decomposition.
Now I remember what I was gonna say. Like, okay, so, cause now I have reason to believe that's the owner of the house. So who is still renting out the Airbnb and accepting the payments on this, on the Airbnb? Jealous neighbors, perhaps? Greedy kids that want the life insurance money? Detective Nicko on the case.
Composition. Metallic, sour, unmistakable. His fingers were curled like claws, arms stretched downward towards the door, as if he was trying to drag himself out. His clothes were damp with old sweat and waste. The back of his shirt was soaked through and stained with a deep maroon, where he apparently had leaked out while lying there. One leg was twisted unnaturally beneath him, like it had just given out halfway through the crawl.
How long you been there?
Barry backed out of the room gagging, and I just stood there, staring, because the rest of it was falling into place in my head. The full fridge, the medicine, the car out front. The Airbnb confirmation that the host had cleared out the week prior. He didn't leave, I said aloud, now numb. He was always still here. Barry didn't answer me. He was halfway in the hallway now, bent over and dry heaving. I stepped in carefully and skirted around the mess on the floor, checked the dresser. It was still full of clothes, men's underwear, socks, folded t-shirts. The nightstand had a charger plugged in. His wallet was open next to a glass of water. I didn't touch it, but I could see his license through the little plastic flap. Same last name as the booking. This was the host, the guy who'd supposedly cleaned the house before we got there. Okay. Only he never finished. He died doing it. I turned and followed Barry back down the hall. He was already on the phone with the Airbnb again, pacing in the living room, trying to stay calm, but quickly unraveling with every single breath. Yeah, we just found a body. No, a body. It's in the house you said was clean and empty. No, this isn't like the fridge. This is a man's corpse, literally rotting in the back bedroom. I stood in the middle of the kitchen.
Like, what are y'all doing? Y'all get an Airbnb or a hotel room, whatever. A temporary staying arrangement. Y'all walk in the back room. Body. What's y'all's next move? Are you going to A, call the police, B, call staff and management, or C, be a delinquent and not call nobody, get the hell out of there? Let me know in the comments.
And just stared at the counter, willing my thoughts to line up. The fridge, the prescriptions, the car, the fact that somebody approved our stay without ever even physically checking the property. The fact that we've been dismissed twice by customer service people who clearly didn't verify a fucking thing. There was no malice or conspiracy, just negligence. The kind that gets people hurt.
You know, they say that AI is the future.
Hey, y'all know the drill.
Been using apartmental intelligence.
The police showed up maybe 30 minutes later. 2 cruisers, no lights or sirens. The first officer to enter took one breath inside the master bedroom, then doubled back with a hand over his nose. They asked us to step outside, so we stood by our car in the gravel drive, while a paramedic team suited up to examine the body. I think Barry smoked 3 cigarettes in a row and didn't speak the whole time. I just stood there holding my phone, staring at the unread messages piling up from the Airbnb rep, who suddenly had gone very quiet once the words police and dead body were mentioned to them. An older detective arrived not long after, lean and very deliberate, gray mustache and mirrored sunglasses. He spoke to me
like
first.
Magnum PI.
"Do you know the deceased, ma'am?" he asked me. "No," I said. "We were renting the place. He was supposed to be gone. The company told us the house had already been cleaned and the owner had vacated the property." He raised his eyebrow. "You ever been here before?" "No." "You touch anything?" I hesitated. "I moved some papers in the bedroom. They look like treatment forms for cancer." He made some kind of note, and I watched his team bring out the body in a zipped black bag, the outline barely resembling the man that we found face down on that carpet.
I just want y'all to know, they would not be carrying no dead body like that. Like, they wouldn't be carrying it that easy. Alright? A body is a lot of dead weight. So, yeah, they probably have like either 3-4 people, or they definitely be using 2 hands, or like 2 arms. So, I just want y'all to know that's not an accurate depiction. Not accurate.
The smell didn't disappear. It seemed to hang over the driveway like smoke itself. A smell that would soak into our clothes, into our luggage, and into our memories. They questioned Barry next, and his answers seemed to be shorter than mine, or clipped. They asked us to give a formal statement at the station, but they could also tell that we were shaken up, so they offered to let us go after taking photos of our IDs and then verifying our reservation. We left, and the detective said something strange before we did. We had no reports of this man missing, no wellness checks, nobody called. As far as anybody's concerned, he was still alive until you opened up that front door. I nodded, but didn't say what I was thinking.
So you blaming me?
Probably had nobody left to check on him.
True.
We drove to the nearest Super 8, about 15 minutes outside of town. The lobby smelled like disinfectant and vending machine coffee. Barry didn't say anything until we were lying in the stiff queen bed with the TV on mute, and our shoes still on. "What if we hadn't gone into that room?" he asked. "What if we just spent the weekend there? Slept next door while he was rotting down the hall?" I didn't answer because I already knew. The next morning, I got an email from the Airbnb apologizing for the inconvenience and assured me that the matter had been escalated to the safety response team. Our entire trip had been refunded. They even offered us a free future stay. I deleted that email without saying anything in response, and then quickly deleted the app.
I ain't gonna lie. I'd probably still be using Airbnb after that. I mean, that don't mean it's gonna happen at every single house. So, I'm sorry, Airbnb probably still be getting my money.
I flew out for a tech conference, but if I'm being honest, the real plan was to stretch it into a little coastal vacation. Conference stuff was 3 days long, but I took 6 off total, with the back half of the trip wide open. No meetings, no emails, just sun and some space. It was February in New York, and I was sick of stepping over black slush and dodging subway coughs. I needed a reset. The Airbnb was a modern bungalow just outside of LA, Venice adjacent, they called it. Little house tucked between bigger ones, right near the beach. Photos showed some hardwood floors, a full kitchen, sleek appliances, 1 queen bed, and a desk by a picture window. I figured it was the perfect base. I'd hit the panels and break out sessions, maybe network a little, then disappear into the boardwalk crowd and get a few drinks, talk to some women, hubba hubba, maybe take 1 or 2 back if the vibe.
Yeah, you wasn't taking nobody back to the crib with that. Hubba hubba. Hubba.
Was right. When I landed at LAX, everything ran smoothly.
Shit.
The Uber picked me up at the curbside. Nice driver.
Yeah, you get no hoes.
The shortcuts. The check-in instructions were detailed and easy. Lockbox by the side gate, code included in the app, key inside. I got in around 2 in the afternoon. The place looked just like the photos, clean, bright, and smelled like fresh paint and citrus. I unpacked right away because I always do that. Call it compulsive, but I like knowing where my stuff is. I had a roller bag and a backpack, both of which I emptied into drawers and closets within the next 10 minutes. My laptop and camera went on the desk. My wallet, keys, and conference badge landed on the kitchen counter. I noticed there was no other personal clutter, no toothbrushes, no coats hanging near the door, no signs that anybody lived here. But that's the way I like it. I mean, I'm renting the place, not borrowing somebody's house. Those next few days were pretty normal. I hit the conference early, came back late, slept like the dead. I took a few photos of the beach at sunset, even got a few compliments on my camera gear. But on the 3rd day, once the conference was almost over and my schedule loosened up, I started noticing these little things. Doors ajar that I already closed, stuff out of place. I quickly told myself that I was imagining it, but I wasn't. Something was not right in that house.
I was the first one to ever join the military in my family. I knew that I wanted to go back to school and produce a big...
I started with the bathroom door.
But I have heard in some instances where they like, well, they'll rent it out to like 2 people and they won't know. I have heard stories about people renting, like somebody will rent an Airbnb, they'll pull up and somebody else has also rented their Airbnb. And I don't know if that's like a thing on the owner's part, double booking people, or if that's just like a slimy tactic that they really be using to try to get some bread out here. But yeah, that's just Detective Nicko on the case and seeing if we can make sense of something.
I remember closing it after my shower, habitual, because I didn't want the steam to escape. I had some shirts hanging in there. But when I came back later that night to brush my teeth before bed, it was now standing wide open. Not halfway, not nudged open. Open, fully. I chalked it up to some kind of draft. The place did have a lot of windows, and I'd had the front one cracked earlier, so that had to be it. But then it was the bedroom closet, and I never used those things. It was too easy to forget things in a rush. Still, one morning after a walk on the beach, I came back and noticed that bifold door were pushed in slightly, like somebody had just slipped in to grab a jacket. I didn't even want it open at first. I just stared at it for a while, then slowly pulled the doors apart. Nothing inside, just my luggage, zipped up and right where I left it. But all of this had started to get in my head. That night, I found the peanut butter jar sitting out on the counter, lid open, spoon right next to it.
Oh, no.
I hadn't eaten any.
Hold up. See, anybody that know me, know I really, really enjoy peanut butter. So, one, the fact that you even just touching my peanut butter, period, is going to be grounds for, getting active. But 2, You done opened my peanut butter and just left it sitting on the counter? Yeah. We gotta get to the bottom of this ASAP. Because I either need my fade, or I need my peanut butter, or I need my money. So, yeah.
I hadn't even touched the thing since I unloaded my groceries. And that's when I got the feeling. The one that you get when you know, not think, know somebody's been in your stuff. The next day, I took photos of everything before I left. Wide shots of every room, time-stamped as well. I even arranged a few things in deliberate ways. A folded dish towel on the oven handle. My charger coiled up just so on the nightstand. I went out for lunch and checked the photos when I got back. Sure enough, the towel was now different, sloppier. The charger was uncoiled and rewrapped in this totally different loop. The peanut butter jar was now in the pantry, not the fridge. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, and the silence was wrong. The kind of silence that waits to be broken. Not peaceful, but expectant. Like I wasn't supposed to be there, or maybe like I wasn't alone. That night I took a lot more drastic measures. I set my phone on the entry table.
At that point, they testing your gangster, bro. They are truly just testing your gangster.
And aimed it straight at the front door. I propped it against a stack of coasters, set it to record video, and made sure the battery was at 100%. Then I opened the app and ordered an Uber. I had no intention of going anywhere. I just needed to make it look like I had. When the driver pulled up, I walked out, locked the door, and climbed in. I asked him to take me around the block and then drop me back on Pacific Avenue. He didn't ask me any questions, and I tipped him extra and then waited until he turned the corner before looping back to the house on foot. My heart was racing. I cut through an alley and crouched behind a neighbor's hedge until I had a clear view of the street. There was a car in the driveway that had not been there before.
I'm just gonna say, at this point, I done wasted money on an Uber to try to I'm leaving. I'm out. And I know it seemed like I'm very quick to leave in situations, because I am. I'm very quick to, hey, you know what? You got it. This is your Airbnb now. They will refund me my money. I'm not dealing with this shit.
Dark blue SUV, nondescript, no plates on the front. I took a photo of it just in case. I approached the house slowly. The front door was cracked open. I stood outside for a few seconds just listening. Then I pushed it open and stepped inside. The first thing I heard was movement, soft, unhurried footsteps in the back of the house, then a cupboard opening. I stayed low and moved fast, following the sounds to the kitchen. A man stood there, rummaging through the fridge, middle-aged, wearing a plain white hoodie and jeans. His hair was thinning, face puffy, like he hadn't slept in a while. When he turned and saw me, he froze like I just hit him with a spotlight. "Whoa, whoa," he said, hands half raised. "You scared me, man." "Who the fuck are you?"
Right.
I asked, not yelling, just flatly. "I'm the owner," he said quickly. "It's my house."
That's what I was thinking. Nick, you are so damn smart. I know. But damn. Why he look like this? He could be lying though. What if he's lying?
"No, it's not," I said. "Not right now. I have a reservation through Sunday." "Right," he said, nodding. "I know, I left some stuff here. I figured while you were out, I didn't mean to scare you." "Bullshit," I responded. "You've been here the whole time." He stepped toward the door casual. "Look, man, I didn't touch anything, all right? I was just grabbing a few things." "Don't move," I said to him. "My phone's been recording the door since I left. I saw your car. You've been coming and going." He hesitated, and I watched his face change. The mask slipped for a second. Not panic, but calculation. He realized that I wasn't buying his story. He also realized that I wasn't just going to let him leave. I pulled out my phone and hit the call button. "Calling the cops." "Hey, come on." he said, trying to sound calm. That's not necessary. I'm not dangerous, I swear. This is my place, man. I just thought I could come by while nobody was home. I didn't think you'd be back so soon. You went through my shit.
Right.
He looked away. I'm missing $500 for my luggage, and I know it was in there.
Oh, wait.
His hands tightened at his side. And if I go check right now, I said, am I gonna find my laptop in your bag? I didn't get an answer. Just that faint buzz of tension in.
Bro, see, this is where you gotta like grab him by his collar, like, hey, and like push him up against. Am I gonna find my laptop in your bag? And that's where you gotta like really get on that with him. But I don't think like this is too pristine of a white man for him to do that. You see the part in his hair. He ain't gonna get on that like that. But yeah, you get the one in the hoodie. He would do that to him. But old boy in the crew neck, he would not do that to the other man. You could just see the dynamics, but
in the air, like we were two wires pressed together, waiting to spark. He then dropped his head and muttered, "Look, you don't need to call them. I'll give it back. I already called." He swore and spun around like he might bolt, but the front door was behind me now, and I'm not moving.
Meet One Track Jack. He's a credit wrecker.
I don't
He doesn't
care,
know that by
Jack.
focusing on one type of
Skip.
A few minutes later, the cops showed up and I showed them the video of the phone, and the guy just stood there looking deflated. They went through his bag and found my laptop wrapped up in a sweatshirt, plus the small wad of cash. Some of the bills had my initials on the corner. I marked them on a whim when I packed. I travel a lot, and I have a lot of people try to steal from me before, so it's just something I do.
Hey, you know what? Hold up. That's actually pretty smart. Like, somebody try to take your money, and you done put your initials on the corners, and they don't realize that? Hey. You know what? We might have to test that out and see if we got some thieves in the circle. See if we got some sticky fingers in the friend group. Might have to test that theory. See? This is why I don't need to watch these.
The cops didn't cuff him, but they escorted him out and warned him not to return. They let me file a full statement. I watched his car disappear down the block, and it wasn't until it was completely out of sight that my hands finally started to shake. The cops told me he wasn't technically trespassing because he was the legal owner, and he hadn't used force to enter. It would take a formal complaint from Airbnb for charges to stick. But the officer nodded toward the recording on my phone and said, "That'll definitely help. They're gonna want to see that." I told them that I'd send it to whoever needed it. That night, because of everything, I didn't sleep much. I pushed the chair under the doorknob like some old cartoon.
So he was the legal owner of the house? So, hold on. So y'all can put me in a car and take me away for coming into my house? Hold on. Now I'm against this dickhead. Cause what? How you get him locked? Bro, you could just well, he was trying to steal your laptop and your money and all that. Yeah. He was trying to take your laptop and your money. He gotta go.
Kept the lights on in every room and stacked my suitcase in front of the front bedroom window, just in case I heard glass breaking. I waited for the sound of tires on gravel, the glint of that blue SUV pulling back into view, but it never came. I called the Airbnb first thing in the morning, walked them through everything that took place. To their credit, they didn't fight on anything. The woman I spoke to sounded young but serious enough. She asked for the video, the photos of the car, and the copy of the police report, which I emailed over that afternoon. By the end of that day, I had a full refund. They also added credit to my account and sent a follow-up message saying the host had been permanently suspended. Apparently, this wasn't the first time they'd gotten complaints about him. We were already reviewing his activity, she told me. I'm really sorry it took something like this to push it over the line. So am I. I stayed that last night of the trip in a boutique hotel closer to downtown. It wasn't fancy, cramped room, barely enough space to turn around in the shower, but the key card worked and nobody crept through my kitchen while I was gone, so That's good, right? I kept thinking about how easily I could have missed it though. If I stayed out a little longer that day or turned the camera a few degrees to the left, I might have come back to a wiped laptop, empty cash stash, and a gaslit conversation with some apologetic stranger claiming, "Oh wow, you must have just misplaced it." I don't know what would have happened if I caught him at the wrong moment either, if I hadn't kept my voice steady, if he decided that I was just another mark. I still use Airbnb. I'm not stupid. I know most of the hosts aren't like that. The company made it right and they didn't even dodge the damage. But now I photograph everything. I mark all my bills. And I never ever leave without locking every entry point and double checking it on my way out.
Okay. Alright, well, that was all for that video. Anyway, y'all ever had anything weird happen at Airbnb? Let me know in the comments, man. Y'all like, comment, subscribe, and love y'all, grateful for y'all, appreciate y'all, and I'm out.